go ahead and get started. And so I don't forget, sometime during the regular council meeting, I want to talk about AB 25. Are you familiar with that? The cultural resources thing, the new bill coming out? Are you familiar with it? Okay, we'll talk about that. I learned a little bit about it today. So, but we'll go ahead and open up the workshop for all our visitors here today, and welcome everyone out. So, let's see. Both of the new commissioners have been through the. Have you been through the EDC section already? At least once? Did you? I know we went through development code and other things like that, but have you two been? Were you here when we did any EDC? No. Okay.
I think you've had 4 sessions on this already. If I am correct, there were 2 in October, 2 in November, which would have been before the 2 new commissioners were, I believe, appointed.
Right.
We came aboard in January.
Yeah. So that.
And we specifically stopped doing the workshops on this chapter until the new commissioners were seated and everybody was comfortable in their spot. So this would be the first time that this chapter has been presented to you. And the previous commission was roughly halfway or more than halfway through the review of the chapter. With the chair's permission, I'll just start into the little explanation of where we're at and what we're doing.
Okay. That sounds good.
For the benefit of those that might view the video and for the 2 new commissioners, what we are doing is we are going through the chapters as they're created in an effort so that we, through time and through workshops, get through the entire code. Then when we're done with the workshops, we'll bring back to the commission for public hearing all of the chapters in the same manner that they would be presented to the city council, except for in that material that will be presented to you will be all of the suggested changes that the commission has asked for through the workshops. That gives you a second bite at the apple, as it were, in order to make your arguments, correct things, and so forth up to that point in time. We have gone through many parts of this particular chapter, the previous commission did. They are highlighted in different colors within the material here. We have, between the last time the full commission looked at this in November, as was commented on, and now we've slightly changed the process that Vice Chair Phillips works with me before we get
He's not
to...
vice chair.
I'm not vice chair.
He's vice president of essential material, but he is not vice chair. This lovely lady is vice chair.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
Oh, your back was turned and we did that?
I apologize.
There was actually a recall.
Well, I've got a lot of notes that talk about Vice Chair
Yeah,
Phillips.
I thought we went through that last meeting, and,
Yeah, somebody
sick or
didn't tell me.
yeah, he
There you go.
busted his back.
All right. The Honorable Commissioner Phillips
There you go.
and I will work out the chapters and get them to you so that some of the things that you're going to see in this chapter tonight highlighted in green, you won't have that same kind of situation. He and I will have worked it out. It'll be a clean page, clean chapter. Then as you go through the workshop for that particular chapter, it's then that we'll make this, that I will note your suggestions for changes, highlight that in yellow for that eventual full code that's presented to you at a public hearing. Where you are tonight, I believe, is approximately page 16. The commission was working on the table, going through the uses one by one so that they were comfortable that the particular uses would be allowed in each of the 5 sub areas of the economic development corridor district itself. You may, however, if you so desire, note the changes that Commissioner Phillips had suggested. Those were items that were highlighted in green in the pages prior to page 16. So I guess it's up to the chair and the commission as to whether you want to rehash any of the material prior to page 16, the items in green that Commissioner Phillips suggested, or whether you want to start on page 16 and go through what's left of that material, or whether you want to say what has been done to this point meets everybody's satisfaction, except for, see page 7 or 20, and let's discuss item whatever from there.
What?
It's up to the commission. The procedure that the commission has used, again, for the benefit of the new commissioners, the procedure that the commission had used in the past is they go to a page, they go to a section, and the chair asks, does anybody have a question with this section or this page? And if nobody has a question, they go to the next page. If somebody has a question, they say, I direct your attention to section 3. I don't like that it's a 25-foot setback. We want it to be a 100-foot setback, or vice versa. And then you discuss it, you give me guidance, I make the change in the material. So it's up to the chairs to what direction you want to go for tonight's workshop.
First comment, Jen, would it be possible to shut the door or something, because I'm blind right now? Thank you. May I make a suggestion to the commission? I do have some comments on just a few sections of Commissioner Phillips' edit, so I'd like to address those. But does anybody we'll start off with Commissioner Folsom. Do you have some comments on his edits?
On his edits and.
Before we go there, thank you again for your wordsmithing and your due diligence.
No problem.
Hey, Commissioner Folsom.
Yes, on that and all the previous pages to 16 as well.
Okay. So, what?
Can I
Go ahead.
also, I made notes of the copy that we got in the notebook, and then we got this one. I know we were emailed it, or it was suggested, but didn't have a chance to come down and even get this one. So it's off a little bit, the page numbers.
Yes, because of,
So
yeah.
which one are we gonna?
We're going to go
I
through that.
suggest we use the one with the green highlights in it, because
Okay,
that
so
would be the
We
latest.
just have to kind of
But, well,
cross-reference.
But yeah, but if there's, the issue's the issue. If you want to talk about, marijuana and it's on page 15, we can talk about marijuana. We're not concerned about
Okay.
the page numbers, just, you might have to track between the
Okay.
two.
All right.
Okay, so let's start off with Commissioner Folsom. Do you have, go ahead and just, we want to hit this in detail, we want to make it right, but we also don't want to drag this out.
Sure.
We do want to wrap this up if possible, so let's hit everything you want to hit, but let's try and be expeditious about it. Go ahead.
No problem on page 1 with Commissioner Phillips, but there is a typo, it looks like, within the area designation, not areal,
Where's that?
Right.
third line.
Oh, area, okay, so,
Oh, I missed that. Yeah.
okay, Charles, so who's doing that? Charles, are you keeping these edits? Who's the editor here?
I'll keep them as well.
Okay, so Bob, you'll do that, okay. So we have Ariel on page 1, okay. Page, next.
Page 2, just a matter of formatting. All the previous, where you have discussion, intent, and then policy, you have the text following the underlined word, and with policy you don't. So I'd suggest you move that text next to policy,
Oh, yeah, just a formatting
yeah.
issue.
just a formatting. Then under policy A, the end of that sentence needs a period. I do not agree with Commissioner Phillips eliminating G.
Yeah, I'll concur with that, but go ahead, we'll,
On which one?
in fact, while we're, let's see, where is?
So it's right at the top of page 3.
Yeah.
Right,
This right
yeah.
here.
I had an aversion to putting the intent of the city to generate revenue in a regulation. That, to me, is kind of harsh. And I just, for some reason or another, if you're going to set up a plan, and in that plan you're revealing or presenting the fact that one of the reasons for generating this document is to bring in revenues for the city, that sounds like this is basically your whole focus, is to generate some kind of revenue. And I just said, in a governing document, that should not be something that's pushed on whoever's going to read this, the regulated community. And that's my rationale for saying that that should be omitted, because I just don't think that that is professional.
And the concept of economic growth and development is in the general plan. So it's part of the fundamental of the city, but I understand Commissioner Phillips's point relative to, let's not make it look like this is money over benefits to the community.
Well, I understand the concept. If that was the first item on the goals, A, then I think it would give that message. But I was the one who brought that up, and the reason I brought that up was whatever development goes in the EDC, the reason we created the EDC was to protect the economic generating ability of these areas
Exactly.
for the fiscal solvency of the city. And while you don't want to look money hungry or grubbing, there is a reality that cities must generate revenue and be fiscally solvent. That was why we created the EDC. So
Yeah.
your point is taken as far as, we're just doing this for money. You don't want to say that. But the reason I had it put in there was, we want people to think that if you're going to come into the EDC, you're here to be a revenue generating for yourself and also for the city. That was the purpose of it. Now, if the rest of the commission doesn't agree with that, I can, go ahead and say
No,
so.
that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are the rest of the commission's thoughts on that?
Well, that's my understanding of the EDC. It's a revenue maker for the
Yeah.
city.
And an employment generator.
And
And
employment.
employment.
Do we want to add some wording to that effect? So, contribution to fiscal health stability of the community by the contribution to revenue generation and employment generation opportunities?
Revenue and
Rev-
employment.
Can I suggest some wording possibly, if you want to consider this? If you used contribution to the fiscal health and stability of the community by encouraging economic growth within the city, it's not saying revenue generation for the city, but it's economic growth within the city itself. And I think that means to the community at large. And I think it takes away that issue about the city trying to generate revenue for itself. The city will benefit from it, but it's economic growth within the city.
I like that.
Yep, that's fine.
That was good. Can we use that wordage?
So say it again, economic.
It'd be, just keep the first part of that sentence, contribution to the fiscal health and stability of the community by encouraging economic growth within the city.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, then can I ask a question? What does the red mean? The red highlight?
That was a change that had been requested by the previous commission.
Okay. I would suggest that the specific plan be capitalized. It's capitalized throughout the rest of the document.
I think this is referring to the general idea of a specific plan, not the specific plan.
Okay, I read it as the specific plan.
No, it should
To
be
create
a
a specific plan, but
Right.
meaning a specific plan, not
It was just
a specific plan
Right,
capitalized.
because we
Something
got
which
so
is-
many of them.
Something that is called a specific plan should be capitalized
Right.
because that is the title of a document.
Right.
As opposed to making particular plans.
Right.
Specific as an
So what was-
synonym for particular. I
So
see
what
what
was
your point
meant
is.
there? Is it meant to be a capitalized specific plan or a
No.
particular?
No.
Okay. Okay. Then is there a different word than we could use? Because when we say specific plan, it tends to mean specific plan.
No, because when that was suggested, I don't know whether I did that or, I may have done that, because I was looking at, we have so many of those plans. And so I didn't want to just say, single that out.
Right.
We are talking in something of a generality. And so I didn't think that it would be appropriate to say,
Can I offer an analogy? I think I know what he's talking about. If you're talking about a nation developing a constitution, you would capitalize constitution, even though you're not talking about the constitution or a particular constitution. So here you're talking about for a specific plan, meaning requirement for a document which is called a specific plan
plan.
is a title of a particular type of document, so it would seem like it should be capitalized there. But if you're not referring to that, then I think specific does cause confusion because it's a very
Defined.
particular word.
Well,
For-
then
or
the
phrase.
easiest approach is just capitalize it.
Yeah, but it's not a qualified specific reference, it's a general reference, but.
yeah,
whatever.
it was intended to
Any
be a
other
general reference. So,
Well, it was general when it was only plan, and it was made specific when you added specific.
yeah.
a suggestion was,
That's true.
to change it to a unique plan? Does that,
Well, there's a meaning behind the word specific plan. It's a legal definition of a
Mhm.
document and
Mhm.
land use, so.
Right, and
Right,
if you
and then it
add
should be
different,
capitalized.
if you add different terminology like master plan, then it confuses people ultimately in what is it they are required to do? Is there a difference between a master plan or this plan or that plan? So that's why we're trying to keep some consistency throughout the document. So again, the easiest way would be capitalize it.
Okay.
that was my suggestion.
Let's go ahead and I don't think we're gonna die on this hill, so let's capitalize it if the commission's okay. What about, where we're at right there, that specific plan?
Yes, on page 3.
Yes, so, back down to the green, he'd crossed out while maximizing potential revenue. I'd like to keep that, but in the format that we put above, but while encouraging economic the fiscal health and stability through encouraging economic growth or something, okay? Okay, continue on. Anyone else on, Commissioner Folsom? Anything else on 3?
Not on 3. On page 4, I just wanted an explanation of why Commissioner Phillips wanted to delete that first piece.
I thought it was redundant. I think, for some reason, I looked at that and said that it didn't fit what the intent of this paragraph was supposed to be, and that is to define the location of that, and not all of this other, the statement that this is more descriptive of a buffer zone, and I was saying, well, let's just go ahead and stick with the definition, which was really, really well done in the second part of that paragraph, because it actually provides some, from my way of thinking, continuity with the descriptions that were in the other areas. That was the reason. I just thought that that was kind of superfluous.
Well, okay, so what you need to look at here is, when we did this, we had very specific uses in the different parts of the EDC. The north gate was gonna be more your light industrial and your big box stuff, okay, your big buildings. Your stuff on the south gate was gonna be your, like we describe it in here, your professional and light industrial, mostly professional and business park. Your McCall Boulevard is one, your medical by the hospitals is another. So, and then, so that's kind of the general statement in the green. Then in the yellow, it goes into each of the areas of what we're looking for. So, but the green is the general theme. So the district serves as a buffer and a transition between the land uses south and east of the district and the residential uses located within and outside Menifee, southwest and east of the district. So it's the buffer concept. The EDC economic development driver theme show a mixture of industrial and professional business park developments built on the adjacent medical. So then what does it say? Does it say that in the, here?
Yes, it does. In the first statement, it says it is envisioned to be a mix of commercial uses. And I felt that one phrase there easily replaced all of the stuff that was above. And that's why I said, well, okay, this is in keeping with what I read in item D and item C. So
Well-
that was my thinking there.
I could see getting rid of the second paragraph, but I still like the first. The district serves as a buffer and a transition between the land uses southeast of the district and the residential uses located within and outside Menifee to the southwest and east of the district. That buffer concept is important. So I would vote if you wanted to delete the second paragraph, because it is a little bit duplicative.
You mean the second sentence?
The second sentence, I mean,
Hmm.
but keep the first sentence. What does the commission think about that?
Somebody likes it.
Irwin?
I'm fine. I just wanted an explanation from Commissioner Phillips. If you feel like that's important, that's fine, but
Is this the only, unless I'm reading it incorrectly, is this the only section in the yellow portion here that defines the boundaries of the particular area? The other four don't seem to do it that specifically.
It's because the south gate is so huge. It extends from the Murrieta line clear up to just north of Scott.
Right.
That's why, because we kind of have sub-areas within it. That's why we're doing it. For example, where they're building Commerce Point.
Commerce Point.
That's one area right now. That's the southern area of the south gate. Whereas the area at the north of it, see where it says Countryside SP? That's the Lowe's and all that. Just south of that, we don't want light industrial there. We're looking for more retail kind of a thing. So that's
Right.
why we divided it up.
Oh, I don't mind dividing it up. I'm just saying that if you're talking about redundancy of language, the second paragraph here is very, very specific. It almost defines the EDC area, but I see what you're talking about here. Yeah, I agree that second, in the green portion, the second sentence can go, but I do like that the first sentence keeps in line with the formatting of the previous sections. You know, where the Newport Road District provides, the Community Core District is, the other sections are, you know, this district creates, this district serves. The language mirrors the same all the way through with that.
Right, and just expanding on what you were saying, in this first sentence in the yellow, it says, it is envisioned to be a mix.
Mhm.
And that was what keyed me to saying, well,
Hello.
there's some coherency there that I didn't see in the first two statements. That's
Well, I
my
think,
rationale.
yeah, what I just learned from hearing the explanation is that this sentence that you're pointing at as redundant is actually part of it, standing alone. It doesn't define the whole Southern Gateway. It's only the portion east of 215. That sentence combined with the others break it out. So this first sentence in green is kind of an overall statement on the Southern Gateway. And then in yellow here, we have the segments broken out.
Yeah, but
That-
see, the second sentence in the yellow states that the EDC area on the west side.
So I-
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah.
So,
So I don't think it replaces directly because the second section here is broken out individually, and the first one's kind of an overall philosophy.
well, then should that second section be a different paragraph?
Not really.
I think if you just take out the second sentence in green, leave the first sentence, and jam it all together, I think that just makes a lot of sense.
That's what I'd vote for. Commissioner Sobek?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, we got it. We're moving on. So
What is what Matt stated at the
Yes.
10/8/14 hearing?
I didn't know what that was.
I
I
have a
didn't put
question
that
on
in there.
I have a question on that as well.
No, that's simply a note to me for when I bring the final version to you, the material that he had commented on at that meeting, I was going to transcribe and put it into the,
What does
I
it
don't-
say? Do we know?
I don't remember in the least of it, because we had gone to page 16, and so I had already finished these pages, so.
Okay.
I didn't know what that was.
Yeah,
I-
no,
I
that's just a note, a placeholder for me to put his material in.
So once you put it in,
We'll review it. You'll mark it as new.
Yeah,
Right, okay.
it'll be in that chapter as new, and you'll have that second bite at it when we bring the whole code to you.
Okay, so we're striking the second sentence in green, keeping the first, and on. Anything else on page 4?
No.
Um,
Page 5. You ready?
Okay, yeah.
Maybe this is just a style thing, but I would like to see the ABCD indented.
Oh, I see, yeah. Yeah.
And that's
On
kind of-
A1, and then lowercase a through D should be indented,
Yeah, and that's throughout the document.
and 3, so yeah. So just a general note there.
then again, September 24th, 2014 review. We need to have that end of commission. Oh, that's just when we stopped, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I see. All right.
Okay. Page 6,
Nothing page 6 or 7, but stuff on page 8.
I have a quick question on 6.
6.
We have crossed out marijuana, see table 9 to 8. That's because we're putting it in a different section?
I'm assuming that's why
Yeah.
the commissioner
Yeah,
made that
it was a
suggestion.
different section altogether, so.
Okay. And then you added, is this the green alcohol beverages? You moved this from a different section. Is that what you did?
Yeah.
It was
a
footnotes in the
big
table.
footnote that
Oh,
was half
oh,
a
I
page
see.
long, and I said, well, all of this information should be in a section.
Okay.
And so I went back and stuck it in the section
Okay,
that
so you
closely
didn't create this.
related.
This was already there. You're just breaking it out.
Oh, no, it was,
Is that this section?
Well, there's some additional language in
Yeah.
this that isn't in the footnote.
Is that,
yeah, no, there was one statement I took
is
out.
that this?
Yeah, that's that.
Oh, that's my concern.
Yeah, it's right below a table.
Yes.
Page 19 is where it came from.
From, yeah, okay, that's right. I saw that. Okay.
Yeah, I have some questions about,
And so does, so does
The
Commissioner
section.
Sobek. So go ahead.
you want me to go first?
Yes, go ahead. Well, I'm sorry, Commissioner Folsom, continue. Did you have any questions on, since you were moving on to 7, do you have any questions on that last part of 6 there?
No.
Okay, well, good. Since we're there still, let's go on to Commissioner Kerwin.
So I'm looking, on page 19 is the original footnote on alcohol sales. And then pages 6 to 7 kind of moves that over. It looks like there's some additional language in here that I find confusing, specifically in section, on page 7, which is section section E, I guess. It says facilities such as mini-marts and small multipurpose stores where motor fuels and lubricants compromise the bulk of sales. I don't see that in the original footnote, and I don't know.
No,
that-
I stuck that in there because of clarity purposes.
I really don't know that those stores, motor fuels and lubricants, comprise the bulk of sales. I don't know how you define that. You know, it's always been my understanding that they make most of their money off the mini mart. That's why they have a mini mart. The gas is kind of a loss leader for the mini mart, or a driving marketing feature. But the fact that motor fuels and lubricants, I guess, are the number one physical characteristic of the place, but that's breaking it out.
I think what he's trying to say here is if you're going to go, we don't want them selling, certain things and certain types of alcohol. And if they are, it's got to be limited at a gas station. We don't want it to become the primary focus.
I understand the purpose of the section, and I'm fully in favor of that, but the language of it saying where motor fuels and lubricants comprise the bulk of sales, that phrase to me is very inartful.
Yeah, for me, it was the intent of that store to begin with was to sell motor fuels and lubricants, because that's what these things are primarily in business for.
I hadn't
Sell
realized
gas.
that lubricants was such
I
on
just-
equal par with motor fuels.
Now, it just goes back to what Charles was saying about my military thinking. I always think if you got fuel or any kind of petrochemical product, that's going to fall into one of 3 categories. It's going to be a fuel or a lubricant or some kind of a solvent. And so that's my thinking. When you go to these mini marts, you're going to see fuels, solvents, gasoline is why that store was generated in the first place. So
Well, what-
that's my thinking there.
So Charles, what is a different way of saying gas station?
Well, it says service station in the, just to finish what I was saying, that I have no problem with moving the note to here. I just prefer staff's original language in the footnote the way it is. I think it was appropriate the way it is, because it says here in section F on page 19, the following additional development standards shall apply to the concurrent sale of motor vehicle fuels and beer and wine. They're saying if you have a place that sells motor vehicle fuel, whether it's a 5% of your income or 100% of your income,
These are the
you
rules.
sell it and beer and wine. Doesn't matter whether it's the bulk of sale or not. If you sell both, here's your regulation. And I think that's more specific and easier for a business owner to understand whether they're complying with the law.
So Commission.
I agree with that.
Okay, we got an agreement there. I tend to agree with that. Commissioner Sobek, do you want the original language or Commissioner Phillips' language?
I like probably the original, but
Okay.
I do have some comments on the original.
Okay, for now, let's go back to the original then on that wording. Charles and Bob, if you can make a note.
Yep.
And then Commissioner Sobek, do you have any other questions, Commissioner Kerwin, on that?
I don't have any objection to Commissioner Phillips' suggestion of moving the whole section outside to
Agree
make
with
it more prominent. I think that's a good idea.
Yep.
So I would like, what my bottom line comment would be, I'd like to see the original staff comment on page 19 move to the section where Commissioner Phillips recommended.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Sobek, what were your comments on this section?
Yeah, we've had some, a lot of comments from people in the community from past public hearings about saturation of alcohol. And as I have looked into this a little bit, I have found that in the county of San Bernardino, the city of Ontario has taken some large steps into making their community a safer place when it comes to alcohol consumption and sales. They have received many, because of their projects, they've received many grants. It's been successful. They partner with nonprofits. There's a gentleman by the name of Fred Alvarez who kind of leads that. And I would like to ask our staff to get that information and bring it back. I did, and I mentioned this before, I did call ABC asking them about the standards. And ABC shared with me that those were just basic standards and that they were hoping that our city would do a little bit better with the standards. They're just a base. And so before we approve this section, I would like to see a little bit, besides the City of Ontario, the City of Yucca Valley has also done some things. But the Ontario has taken the lead on this and is doing quite well.
So Charles, can you get that wording on their code and see how it differs and maybe present that to us? Sounds like it puts a little more restrictions and maybe direction.
Well, like for instance, we have here, this always cracks me up, the owner of each location and the management of each location shall educate the public regarding, and so that is a little bit of what Ontario has done. The education is better. And so I just would like some information on that.
I have a problem with that, and I intentionally took it out because I don't think that a person who is hired to sell gasoline should be holding a course of instruction in alcohol consumption. That doesn't make any sense to me because a lot of those people, number one, English is not their primary language, nor is the culture. And so you're having a person trying to come up and explain Americans' mindset on alcohol use.
That's
All
an
that
ABC.
person wants to do is just sell the stuff.
That's an ABC regulation, and what it is they have to have a sign posted in the window,
Yeah,
or
and
they
I
have
think
to
I
have
mentioned
literature,
that.
and that's it.
Yeah, I
That's
think I
it.
mentioned that they should have appropriate signage.
So,
I think
but
I
our
put that in
city,
there, I forgot.
like the City of Ontario, our city could take it a step further, and we can have better signage. And through it sounds like they're doing some great things, and I would just like to hear.
Well, the main thing they're trying to do is change the culture of the alcohol use. And while it's not the city's entire job to do that, it is the job to set a culture. And really, same thing happens with your little nudie bars, strip joints. Like I had a friend who was on the City of Newport Beach Planning Commission. And for a while, what was that main drag going into Newport? It wasn't not PCH is going there. I think it's right off the freeway and it runs down. It was just chock full of these strip bars. Yeah, it runs right down there. And they decided as a city that was not the image they wanted. So they made a cultural decision to change what they wanted along there. And then they made policies to enact that. And they got rid of most of them because that's not the culture they wanted in their city. And that's what we're trying to define here. What is the culture we want in our city? And you do that through ordinances and through policy. So that's the purpose of it. So I would encourage the language, at least for us to read it and consider it. Anything else?
I have an aversion to somebody that's not born and raised in the United States trying to teach me how to drink or educate me on drinking. I just have a problem with that. And I don't think that a person who is employed at any of these gas stations is not experienced enough to tell me what I need to do with alcohol.
Well, it's not the person
So-
standing there giving you change that's going to do it. though.
Well, the
It's
thing.
owner and the management.
It says the owner and the management, and they don't have the time to sit there and hold a class
No,
on how to drink.
that's what I mean. We have the verbiage in there. What does it mean? I would like to see what the City of Ontario is doing that's so successful and to make their city a safer place. And part of the reason why is because of so many comments we've heard from people in our community as they've come before us.
Okay, well, we can at least consider it. So anything other changes any other changes to that section by any commissioner? Okay, let's move on. Commissioner Folsom, page 7, any changes?
Nothing on 7.
Anyone else on page 7?
I had one question, and this goes more to definition than anything else. The last paragraph on 7, the second sentence, residential developments are not allowed as standalone projects, nor are they allowed, that whole section there. That sentence seems kind of redundant to me.
The reason we did that was there was a battle, a policy as to, do we want housing in here? Because what's happening is we have EDC defined areas, and then especially this is going to happen in the town center. They were starting to put standalone housing in there when really that's designed for commercial, retail, office. So we specifically wanted to say, you cannot come in and say, I want to put in a bunch of apartment buildings here, and that'll be the housing element, and everything else can be the residential. We said, no, it's got to be a mix. If you're going to do housing, it's got to be apartments above, retail below, that kind of thing. That's why we put that wording in there. 'Cause
Yeah, that I think is clear, and I think that's an excellent policy. I just think that the next sentence is new residential developments are required to include blah, 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 commercial, office, whatever. I think saying you're not allowed to have standalone. You must include the following. Well, if you must include the following, you can't have standalone. And because is there a glossary definition of standalone? I see it's in quotes.
Charles, what is or Bob, is that specific legal definition to conclude what we mean by standalone? Or is there some other legal definition we should put in there?
No, I believe standalone in our glossary indicates what that definition would be.
So it is in the glossary?
Should be in the glossary.
In that case, I'll withdraw
Okay.
my objection to it. Yeah, I was concerned that, because I didn't get a glossary with this, I didn't know where that might be. If that phrase was in there, undefined legally, by itself, it creates confusion.
Ambiguous.
But if it's in the glossary, then that's fine by me.
Okay, good deal. Any other comments on page 7?
I just,
Go ahead.
nope, it's 8. It's 8. The end of
8?
that paragraph.
Okay, go ahead.
I see it is crossed out. I had a question of the amusement rides, kiddie rides, incidental to primary use.
Yeah, where did
I
that come
didn't even
from?
know what that meant, right there, added.
Commissioner
at the
Phillips, what did we
Oh,
mean by
What's
that?
that was just it was a electronic error. Those
Okay.
particular words were actually in a spot in the table. And somehow
Oh.
it got jumped up there.
We got John, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that
It
makes
was
sense.
a copy paste error,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. What does it mean on page 8? Automotive services, we have the red and then we have it crossed out. The red again is, those were our changes from last time. We were
Correct.
taking upholstery and radiators. Where did we put those? Was that just in general industrial then?
At best, it's in the industrial. You may have just simply stricken upholstery entirely.
Okay.
You had quite a debate on upholstery. You were not really too much in favor of it.
Go ahead, what, Commissioner?
I didn't, was it something we added here and then it was taken out? See,
Well, it was in there, and then after our last comments, because yours aren't crossed out on that one, are they?
No, that's
Yeah.
the original, this is the new.
Yeah, we decided to take it out. And I remember the radiator discussion, Commissioner Leesmeyer was saying it's dirty and we don't want it.
Right.
I'm not sure about the upholstery argument, but, so does.
Well, he separated out upholstery from auto because you could do that, and it's not the same impact as, although you can do upholstery to autos, it's not as impactful as auto repairs and radiator work and things of that sort. That's what I remember of the discussion.
Okay, any other changes on 8?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Like a explanation for, right at the beginning there, it says A, commercial/office. That seemed random. Is that supposed to be there? And I didn't see any B, C, D later in the tables.
Oh, because we have institutional and all that, so that's the
Yeah,
bulleting?
that's simply a typo, the A.
Okay. So just to clarify, down below, we have automotive services, we have upholstery and radiators crossed out, and then in automotive repairs, we have radiator, Commissioner Phillips crossed it out there. I think that's where we put it, right?
No, I think it was put somewhere else, because I don't recall crossing that out.
Oh, it's green and it's
Yeah, I
crossed
know,
out.
but
But here-
everything that's in green, I should caveat that, everything that's in green is not necessarily my edits. I noticed that when I went through this afternoon. So some of this was put in green because it
Thought we
was,
moved the radiator
when I was
here.
going through the documents in red, I just went ahead and highlighted those that had already been crossed out.
Yeah,
I-
so,
Yeah,
so there may be red underneath there.
exactly. There is some overlap.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, I'm not sure I want to cross out the radiator and not have a radiator facility in our city, but,
I thought we moved it. I thought we crossed it off on the first one, and then I thought we added it to the second one. Commissioner Phillips, do you know if we
I
put it
don't
anywhere else?
recall, I thought we had moved it from spot one. And I'm wondering whether there was a cut and paste which included the strikeout.
Well, and you may have simply removed it entirely because you didn't want that level of activity in the EDC.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there was real concern,
Yeah.
Commissioner Leesmeyer had real concern for the chemicals associated
We need
with
to
it,
look at that.
Yeah,
the whole wall of wax relative to the
That's
impact that
true,
that
yeah.
particular kind of activity
Yeah.
can have. And there are plenty of other zones in the city where it could
that's true.
take
Yeah.
place.
That's true. Okay, let's leave it, let's strike it
Leave
then
it?
if we're all okay striking it. And, because like you said, it can be in other zones of the city, we just don't necessarily
Okay.
want it in these.
right.
That, any other changes on page 8?
Yeah.
What's that?
Okay, so back to that first box then, under alcohol beverage sales. You might just consider this a formatting thing, but I would suggest that all of those be indented, so we know that they're separate and that they're different items, and then that either the C or the P align with the first line, which they don't currently.
They're aligning with the second line. No, the first, oh, I see. So no, which one is, yeah, so the
Right.
second
Just-
line of
Just to
each.
clarify
We
which is
talked
which.
about that last time. They were off a lot, some
Yeah.
of them.
Well, no, in this case, it's alcoholic beverage sales, on-site consumption, you need a conditional use permit.
Right, so
conditional
that
use
would be
permit, so on.
indented.
No, Right, I understand the
Okay.
indention part, but the spacing was correct in the process. So, again,
Okay.
we'll just, tables are complicated processes to
Mhm, To edit.
edit, yes.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question for you on the conditional use permit. If, say, there's a lot and there's a building on it, say it's an acre, and they get a conditional use permit to do a brewery, which is alcohol consumption, and later they split that lot because it's an acre, and the one building's on one half of it, and then they split it, and they have a separate, now they have two lots, two legally separate parcels.
Mhm.
Does the one that doesn't have the building, does it inherit the CUP, or does it have to apply for its own CUP?
It would have to apply for its own CUP. When you review and approve a conditional use permit, it's site and design specific.
Okay,
So that, and why I say it's site and design specific is because if you get a building that's, and you approve it, and it's a one-story building, and then they come in and build it as a two-story building in the same shell, that's not what was design specific, so that's in violation of the CUP. So if your property is an acre in size and they build a 4,000 square foot building and put parking on it and have half an acre left that's vacant, if they choose to subdivide it, that vacant property has no rights to it. They would have to apply for whatever appropriate discretionary review would be necessary for the use they intend to put on that new property.
okay, thank you for clarifying that.
And can you explain off-site consumption, accessory product of retail outlet? I didn't know what that meant.
Where is that?
The last one, accessory product of retail outlet.
Oh, he's still over there, okay. Sorry about that, yeah.
Retail outlet.
I interpreted
Okay.
retail, grocery store.
Well, yeah, it would be like a grocery store. It would be even like the small brewery we have right over here, where the sale of the alcohol for the off-site consumption is their sale right from their location is only is an incidental part of their activities. They do sales to bars in the area and so forth, so it's only an incidental accessory sale to that facility. But it's still, so we were trying to separate it so that if it's an incidental portion of all the activity happening on site, then you could do that by right. You wouldn't need to go through a conditional use permit like you would for the other off-site consumption.
Okay.
Hey, I just have a quick question about that. Well, you brought that up. Does this section apply equally to spirits, beer, and wine? Calling it alcohol here, it seems like spirits are treated differently than beer and wine in other sections of this, where this applies equally to spirits, beer, and wine.
Yeah, spirits are distilled.
So this just says alcoholic beverage sales.
That includes your teas, that Long Island iced tea.
But this section would apply equally to all manner of alcoholic beverages?
Yes,
So they're all treated the same under this particular section?
yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on page 8?
This is just a grammar thing, but IE means that is, EG is for example, when you're putting in all these things where you're saying tune-ups, emission tests, brakes, and then you add et cetera. IE is specific. When you add et cetera, you've made it more of a
Too
for
generic.
example.
Oh, for example.
So if we're saying this is what it's limited to, we should take out the et cetera.
I
Or
don't-
it's for example, and it's those types of things, and it could be some other things up to
It's-
staff's
It's
interpretation.
for example.
Okay, so
we
it's
need
EG.
to correct that, yes.
Oh, EG, okay, yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't think we want to limit it.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Latin scholar into.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's
Because
throughout.
you would want to be able to have a transmission shop. You'd want to be able to have
Right.
electrical, like
Oh,
there's electrical
up
there.
here. So it'll be EG?
EG.
And that's throughout the document.
Yeah, I don't
Right.
have a problem with that.
Okay, page 9.
I didn't see auto sales in here at all.
That's in a different section.
Is it? I didn't, okay, I missed it.
It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, 6th one down on page 9. Motor vehicle
Motor vehicle
sales.
sales?
No, that's storage.
It's motorcycle sales and then motor vehicle sales, right?
Okay, motor
Yeah.
vehicle sales.
Okay, so that means automobile, okay. Again, indent on some of these things for indoor and outdoor under motor vehicle, trailer, or boat storage. And kind of throughout the document. That's all I have on 9.
So let me clarify on motor vehicle, trailer, boat storage. If they open up, like we have that storage unit right along the freeway, the A Star, or whatever that ugly thing is, and other places, they usually have, little cubicles you can rent to store, and they usually have an outdoor parking for your motorhome and stuff. So is that meaning that if we ever do a storage area, which I don't want anyway, but they could not do the storage of motorhomes, they couldn't park motorhomes and things, right?
Correct. They're not allowed to store those kind of vehicles outdoors in the EDC.
Okay.
I had a question about that. There's a section on page 28, jumping ahead. I just want to know how these two sections play together. And this would be section P of this section starts on page 27 and goes through, so this would be P6 in this particular section. P6 talks about open storage of boats, RVs, trailers are not allowed in front and side street yard areas except under approval of conditional use permit. It would indicate that a conditional use permit is permitted for other areas or even in those areas. This chart indicates outdoor storage is banned in its entirety. Do those two sections conflict?
Yes, they do, and it should be corrected so that it's interior, so that it's consistent with the table.
So is in this section, now going back to the chart on page 9, this outdoor, within an enclosed building, does that definition include a roof? Or is something that's surrounded by 4 walls for the purposes of the storage considered an enclosed building?
Has to be 4 walls. Roof and 4 walls.
A roof and 4 walls?
Correct.
Because there's, like on Berea, there's Champion Self-Storage, and they've got like boats and cars and things like that out there, so they would have to remove those. If something like that wouldn't be permitted in the EDC. I don't even know if that would be considered it. That would be
Brea, where's
Newport.
the Brea?
Where it's a Newport, where they realign
Out of
Newport,
West Newport and,
right before Audie Murphy.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a light that you can turn right before Audie Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be the old Newport.
Yes, yeah.
Right on the corner there is Champion Self-Storage.
Yes.
And it's surrounded, it backs up to Salt Creek there.
Yeah.
And they have boat storage and that kind of thing in their yard in that. Now, I guess that would be part of the EDC, the Newport section, wouldn't it?
No, that's not part of the.
I don't think it's,
No.
from my understanding of your description, I don't think that's in the E EDC.
Okay.
Too far down. I think.
That's to the west of the EDC. If you see the Newport, those little purple ones,
Yeah.
and the farthest it goes is, what is that, Bradley? Is it Yeah, it's Bradley and Newport. That's where that corner is, where all those EDCs are. And then it goes down to a little bit to the left.
Albertsons and Staters, is that?
Well, where's Albertson? Yeah, is that,
Albertson's just on the other side of Marietta.
where's Murrieta Road on
Is that right
this?
here?
Yeah.
This is maybe-
Oh, okay, so it would be this, what is this green, is that Salt Creek?
That's Salt Creek.
So it's actually right next to Salt Creek there, that purple that abuts to Salt Creek along Newport?
That is the end of that Stater Brothers, isn't it? Where's Murrieta Road on the, oh no, that's Audie Murphy there. Where's Murrieta Road? It's,
The green patch that abuts Audie Murphy on the northern portion there, is that La Ladera Park?
It's Marietta Road right here.
No, La Ladera's. Oh,
that's Newport.
Yeah, I think
further.
that is La Ladera.
This
So
is
here's
Stater
Newport.
Brothers.
right.
It's the Stater Brothers.
So this was Bradley?
Oh, that's
Looks, I think that
Murrieta.
storage might be in
Re- Regardless of where it's at, your question is whether it would be allowed or not allowed. It would be an existing non-conforming, and they would be allowed to continue the activity they've already got approved and being conducted.
Okay, I'm concerned that somebody would have to change their whole business structure if they're already in the EDC operating in this manner.
No.
Okay,
No.
thank you, that
They would
solves
be
it for me.
existing non-conforming,
But that conflict in the language is something we need to fix.
and I've made a note.
Okay. So, on page 28, that's gonna be indoor only, right?
That's
that
the
what we're
note I
doing?
have, but I'm waiting for confirmation,
I would,
consensus of the commission.
I would change it to that to be consistent, and, because, again, this is just EDC. It's not saying in other parts of the city they can't do it, just that in our EDC areas, we do not want to waste that cubic feet on RV and car storage.
Oh, I agree with it entirely, I just want to make sure the language was
Yeah.
parallel.
So if the commission's in agreement, item 6 on page 28 will say indoor only. Is
Yes.
that okay?
Good.
Okay. Okay.
And I remind you, because of the time, that you do have members of the audience that may want to address the commission during the workshop.
Oh, okay. So we have just a few minutes left. Is there anyone who would like to address the commission during this workshop? Any public?
Because there was a gentleman earlier, which I don't see now.
Nope. He walked out, okay.
Okay.
We'll get him during the open comment of the planning.
Yes, we
Your
have
bug
gnats in
came
here
over
now.
It's
Okay.
not my bug.
Well, no, he was swatting at it earlier.
Yes, I have a couple that are flying over here.
Okay, any other comments on page 9? Okay, let's move on to page 10.
Question regarding banquet facilities and the definition of that. Is that something where people can rent for weddings, or is that identified as something else?
Generally, I believe that's what it is.
Right, a generalized facility for,
Okay, so generally banquet facilities many times have live entertainment and alcohol.
mhm.
So, but there's two areas where they can have live entertainment and alcohol and not have a use permit.
Banquets generally bring in their own, they don't have a standing bar. It's the type of thing where you bring in alcohol for the function and remove it, so it's not a place that sells alcohol. It's a building as opposed to a bar. That would be my interpretation of it. Is that how it's defined? So that it doesn't have its own facility? Because your point's well taken. Is a banquet facility that has alcohol at their function considered an alcoholic beverage establishment or not, right? Is that
So
what you're
they're
getting
going
at?
to have to have a permit from ABC.
Correct.
So what, should we include the CUP in something like that?
I would suggest that we do.
It's
Just
up
because
to
you
the
want to limit
commission.
the hours and
The point was that you'd looked at this, felt that a facility, because of its temporary nature, some will require it, some won't. You have other restrictions, like the ABC license for the temporary, for the per event requirements and so forth, that impose a series of standards that are significantly more restrictive than a facility that runs alcohol every day. So I'm assuming the commission considered that issue and said the particular two sub-areas was acceptable to have those on those short-term
And
basis.
we do need to balance all this with, are we making business onerous to happen here? So, we don't want to slap a CUP on everything. So his point is that banquet facilities, at least the ones I've seen, they aren't running usually every day. They're weekends, they're stuff like that. So do you feel
Special
that we want to
occasion.
put an onerous CUP on that? Do you think that's necessary?
Well, I would
And we are
suggest that
talking
you-
about the community core, the very heart of the city, so.
Because you may be having live entertainment, you want to make sure that it has controlled hours,
Okay, so it's a,
controlled decibels.
So the question then would be, does each event need a CUP?
No,
And there's
just-
your problem,
just,
yeah.
No, just for the banquet hall, and they would say, these are our regulations, you can't have music that's played over X, you can't have,
These are the hours that you're limited to,
Exactly.
this is the maximum number of people you're limited
exactly,
to.
the type
so
of
forth.
security you need to have.
Right.
so that's basically you're defining a CUP.
Yes. So
Um,
I would say you need a CUP in any of those districts, but
Okay, is the commission concurrent with that?
For banquet facilities?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
It's already, so the C is
CUP.
CUP already, so really, like Charles said, we're only talking city center here,
and one other one.
And so,
Right.
And the southern gateway.
Southern Gateway,
So change
so
them all to
to
CUP.
just make them all C, I guess.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any other changes on 10?
Yeah. A CUP is required with a D in all those red on the right,
Say that again.
in the far right
Oh,
column.
yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah.
What, no, I don't.
It needs a
It's a
D.
D instead of required.
Oh, it's required. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And I won't go into all the lining up.
Yeah. I blame that on my cataracts.
So where, if we've got the CUP requirement on amusement parks, auditoriums, billiard parlor, bowling center, and we've got Cs in some spots, but Ps in others, does that mean that if it's permitted, they're gonna have to pull CUP anyway? Cause see how we got the wording, CUP is required to sale of alcohol, I guess maybe all auditoriums won't be selling alcohol.
Right.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I have a question. Why is Cyber Cafe banned in the northern section?
Probably because of the definition of what the northern section is supposed to be. I think it's an industrial.
Cyber Cafe is internet. I mean, people come in to do industrial stuff. Cyber Cafe is going to be a thing of the past soon anyway, but it seems like something that people who come into town from other locations to work at that facility would not mind having a Cyber Cafe among the
Well, the question we brought up, the reason we did that was we envisioned the north gate as more of a light industrial, commercial, stuff like that, and do we want them using space up as a cyber cafe when we really want them to make bicycles? Or whatever, I mean, it's not, no one's gonna die with a cyber cafe, but what's our intended use? That was the definition.
I was just curious why that was. It seemed like an odd thing to ban, but I understand the thinking of it.
Bad things happen at cyber cafes. No, I was kidding. Okay, anything else on page 10?
No.
No, going to page 11? Yeah, we got, okay.
it's 7 o'clock.
Well, let's go ahead and we'll pause the the workshop for the EDC right now. Do we want to take a break or just run right into the,
Let's go ahead and get this done.
okay, let's go ahead and start our regular planning commission here at technically 6:59, but I think we're within regulation.
It's 7.
7, no, that's not what my clock says. So, okay, 7, okay, I'm sure this will switch in just a moment. We'd like to call this meeting to order. Should we take a roll call?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Folsom.
Here.
Commissioner Carwin.
Here.
Commissioner Phillips. Vice Chair Sobek.
Here?
Chair Thomas.
Here. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and stand for the flag salute. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but Commissioner Kerwin, would you mind leading us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any other agenda modifications?
No,
or
sir.
Anything? Okay. Do we have any we don't have any presentations at this time. Do we have any public speakers?
Yes, Katie Manier.
Okay.
I was at the last meeting, and there was a project being discussed, Richland project, and I'm going to just put some facts out there. I don't know if any of you know what a blue line is, but that's in a blue line area. If you don't know what it is, you should know. You're planning commissioners. It's also on an unpaved road, which should not be allowed. Emergency vehicles cannot get in there, and in rainy weather and bad weather, which rain like we've had any, but if it were to rain, that would be a disaster for emergency vehicles to get in and out of. It could pose problems for flooding if we do get some serious rain because it is on a floodplain. There was some talk about diverting water. I don't believe you can. I know for a fact in Arizona you can't divert the natural flow of water. Wherever water goes on its own cannot be stopped. So something to consider and to check into. I don't know if that's the case in California, but I would think it is. Also, Chris Thomas, I think you should recuse yourself from that vote because you made the statement at the meeting that you were opposed to it in the beginning because it's near your neighborhood. It would affect your value of your home. No telling who they're going to. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, go back and look at the minutes. Okay, do, because you did say that. You said at one time you were opposed to it, but now suddenly you're in favor of it. And I just think if it's going to affect your property or your value in any way, because possibly they would be low-income apartments. I don't know what kind of apartments or condos or townhomes are going in there, but we are letting a lot of people in the city that would bring down somebody's property value. And I would understand, I wouldn't want somebody in my neighborhood that would bring my value down, especially. So anyway, those are just some points to think about. You do need to research and see what the blue line is, and to find out about diverting water, because I know, Ms. Sobek, you mentioned diverting the water, and whether that can be done or not should be taken into consideration. And I did, in fact, I have a memo here, and I'm going to send it to everybody. I notice you don't have cards out there, business cards, but I'll look online and get your emails. And I'm going to copy this document I have, and I'm just going to email it and forward it to all of you. I did mention to the developers who were really interested when they were here that their property is on contaminated soil. And they were real interested until I sent them a few articles. And then they weren't so interested anymore. So anyway, I'm trying to keep everybody on their toes.
Any other speakers?
No, sir.
Okay. We have the minutes from the March 11th meeting. Do we have any changes? And if not, do we have a motion to approve? Take hearing.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes from
A second.
All in favor?
March 11th.
Aye.
And
Yes.
I'll note, Commissioner Folsom was absent.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, there you go. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. There's nothing on the consent calendar. We have no public hearings, no discussion items. Does the community development director have any comments?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. We call this commission reports on committee activities, but it's also anything that the commissioners would like to bring to discussion and to possibly agendize. I have something, but does anyone else have anything they'd like to discuss at this point in a limited nature? Go ahead.
Nothing to put on the agenda, but just to let everyone be aware What's coming up April 25th is Menifee Better Together, the third annual. And that will be a great community event if you'd like to volunteer and help Habitat for Humanity work in the senior core area. So check it out.
One comment about that, there's been some really amazing projects done in Menifee Better Together. They usually go in and clean up homes in Sun City. They've cleaned up, they've done schools, they've done all kinds of things that it's amazing how many, I don't know, hundreds of people show up. and-
450 last year.
Yeah, and it's just an amazing, when you get there, it is like, there's an electricity in the air. It really is neat.
So come out.
Yeah.
Is that something that high
Check it out.
schoolers can get community service for
Yes.
somebody there to sign off on that?
Yes, and you can go to justserve.org and register to volunteer.
And it's usually coordinated by city staff, but it's really a compilation of the churches and city residents.
And City and Habitat for
and
Humanity.
and Habitat for Humanity, yeah.
That was 25th of April?
April 25th, and I should say many clubs and organizations
Yes.
that are part of that make donations, yeah. So, come out.
Anything else?
Just an off the subject thing, but just to let everyone know, it is rattlesnake season. So if you're a hiker like I am, I've seen about a half dozen in the last week, so they are out there.
So if you don't come to the next meeting, we'll know why.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, very good.
So no more climbing the hills.
I've been here 8 years and I have yet to see a snake.
Go walk with me.
There you go. I wanted to bring up, I believe it's AB 25, and what it was is in a training today where I work with, they discussed the cultural resources aspect of CEQA and how under current law, if it's a general plan amendment or specific plan amendment, they must pull in the cultural resources and consider it. Apparently, there's a new law that says it's going through the state that says any project will have to consult with cultural resources and have them monitored and have an agreement with the tribes and groups. So well, how does that affect us? Because if we're doing just a Rite Aid, it's not that big a deal. You won't have usually a cultural resources. I think by agreement, the city does advise the tribes if it's something, but at this point, it's going to mandate it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, just a couple, I believe I think that's AB 52.
did I turn
Yeah,
it around?
that's
52?
fine. Just to
Okay,
make sure,
yeah,
'cause
I'm
I was-
dyslexic, so.
Ajit had looked it up as well, and he had indicated that. But, yeah, as part of that process, that we have to notify the tribes, and that's part of that process. And I haven't looked through it, but it's probably basically what you're saying is it's additional things that have to be done as well.
Expands the scope of
Right.
which projects are
So-
subject to it, so we'll probably be seeing some more
Yeah,
of
so
that.
but that'll be part of the process that we'll have to do
But it's not approved yet.
It's not
in
approved,
in
it's going
that,
through.
in the review of projects.
Well, it has been approved, it was approved last year, but it doesn't take effect until July
Oh,
of
okay,
this year.
okay.
So projects moving forward, they'll start to do more intense negotiations with the tribes and consulting with them.
Would that be more fees for the applicant?
Not necessarily more fees, but just the process, the environmental review process will be longer, and it'll be more detailed as a result. I can, I'll draft up a quick summary of it and send it to all of you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have anything else. Any other comments?
Yeah, you know what, one more, sorry. Tonight, there was a town hall meeting about interchange 215 at 5 o'clock. I was kind of sad that it was on the same night as our planning commission meeting. Would have liked to have attended that. So I don't know. That would have been something us commissioners would have been good to attend, so, whether their conflict. So.
Back, since we couldn't attend that, is there like a 30-second update you can give us? Because I keep getting questions from residents
That's
of,
what I was saying
so
too.
when are you going to build the Holland overpass? When are you going to widen the Scott Road Bridge? I've been hearing conflicting things lately from, so what is the status on the funding on all of of Newport, Holland, and Scott?
And we can come back and provide that, I think, through engineering, we can also provide that part of the capital projects and so on, where those projects are at and what they're, what phase that they're in.
Can you give us a Reader's Digest? Okay, we
Yeah,
have
no,
all the funding.
it'll be a quick, we'll do it.
Really
in-
quick.
Yeah, we'll provide something like that. So I'll ask engineering that if they can provide
Yeah.
that as well. So-
Basic questions are, do we have the money to build each of the individuals, and when is it gonna get done? That's as complicated as I'm looking for, or started, I should say, started, so. Okay, anything else? Okay, then we'll go ahead and, do we have a motion to adjourn our official planning commission meeting?
I move we adjourn
Do we
the
have a
official
second?
meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, do we wanna take a break, or do we wanna roll right into additional workshop?
I can roll.
Wait.
What's that? Okay, we have an empty coffee cup.
Just
Let's
5-minute
take a
break.
5-minute
But-
break.
But also, we have some, I always like it when we have youth attend, and they don't know what's going on and how we do things, and I don't know if it's appropriate to let them ask a question or just give them a little idea. Like tonight, we have a short agenda. It's a sad night you guys came tonight because it's a short agenda.
It's fine.
Okay. Okay.
So you can quote the entire EDC code to us then?
I want to go home.
Okay, just kidding. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We're the important one, they do the other stuff. Yeah, so.
So we take a 5-minute break?
Yeah, yeah, they have pictures, we don't, but we should be on that wall.
No, no. Don't do that. Don't go there.
Take a quick break? Okay.
I just came to the park, and that's huge diversion project. Now, I don't want to have it. Oh, I'll leave it alone then. I just came. Yeah, I watched them divert the Gila River, which is Parker Dam. I was just there. And that big reservoir where they got all those quagga mussels out there, the guy dredged them up and showed them. This is what quagga mussels are here. The Arizona Water Project. They shoot the water all the way down because they got paid Mexico.
And up by my house, we back up
Allocation.
to open space area, and there's a kind of a walkway road, there's a big one up there. I gotta go check it out. So yeah, this is the season, especially, the thing is you gotta watch out with the animals. The small one, you don't notice, you don't know the small ones are there.
Where was this at?
The hill right behind the Oasis.
Oh, is that right?
That's a big one there.
That's a
That's
huge
big one.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was coiled strike. Luckily, he went.
You heard it.
Yeah.
And see, that's what I was saying, it's the babies, the ones that don't have the rattles, you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
see those. And those will lock onto you too, that's what can be deadly.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was supposed to go to Quartzsite, do some four-wheeling out there on Ramsey Mile Road. I hadn't even thought about snakes because the last time I was out there, there were no snakes at all. There was plenty of mosquitoes, but not snakes.
Yeah. And especially this weekend as it gets hotter.
Yeah.
So keep your feet up.
Yeah, well, I got boots, I just put those on.
And what do you know? They were walking the clock,
Yeah, I mean,
they're passing CUP.
he was a 5-footer. And, you know, like I said, we've seen half a dozen of them.
You were talking so fast, I was trying to keep up. But I got you talking about the blue line and then.
But they got like
I actually
wide
just emailed
circulation.
you,
That is very
AB
nice.
52, I did a
Yeah,
brief
we're seeing a lot of
summary
people
for
up
that,
there.
for Lisa 2 months ago, I sent it to her, so I just forwarded that.
I mean, that's what you need to know.
That's true.
4-year-old kid.
That's just a
Sure, unless you
recommendation.
feel
I
like
would
we
send
should.
that to those
Only
folks
2
because
paragraphs.
they're kind of receptive to something like that. Especially because it's gonna generate community interest. When they see that something that big.
Yeah.
I mean, I have big lizards. But no snakes, you know.
No, I don't do that. Fortunately, the medicine doesn't.
our workshop on the EDC. Commissioner Sobek, did you have something to say, or did you accidentally push your button?
Oops, sorry.
Okay. So we are on page 11, I think, right? Yes. Do we have any, by the way, what is the,
That's a question I have.
is that the euro symbol? Are we charging euros now?
That's a crossed off C, I believe.
Oh, okay, crossed off C, okay. I thought we were charging euros at this point.
Private-
No, throughout the chart, there are crossed off,
Cs.
double strike through CUP symbol.
Okay.
That's what I was wondering. So down where it says private commercial skate park, there's a C, but then there's an asterisk with lines underneath of it.
Let's cross out of
Where it used to be prohibited, you guys decided not to just prohibit it, to allow it with a CUP.
Okay, that's what I was, okay.
Does the glossary include definitions of hotel and motel?
More than likely. I don't remember for sure, but more than likely. Because those are common terms and for interior corridors and so forth, yes.
Okay, I have the smoking lounge. I know that Newport corridor is supposed to be a neighborhood-oriented commercial that supports residential communities. And I don't know if, my interpretation could be different, but it being allowed in a neighborhood residential, what's described, what they want in that ECD, I didn't know if that was an appropriate allowed use. So,
I'd say the same goes for community core.
yeah.
I'm in favor of getting, that's your hookah lounge, right? Isn't that what it is?
Precisely. Or I guess a cigar shop would fall into that same category.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times cigar shops have a smoking room in them.
Oh.
So just, I just envision Newport, not from the, what it's described it should be, it just doesn't sound appropriate in that area, so I'd like to strike it.
I'd be okay with striking it in Newport. What's the rest of the commission say? Phillips, Kerwin?
I'd say I'd be fine with striking it in Newport and community core.
Okay, I would go with that too.
Commissioner Folsom?
Yeah, that's fine.
So we're, Phillips, okay, so in CC and NR, it's gonna be a star. Okay,
I've got a comment on movie theater. It seems like there's a trend now that movie theaters are incorporating
Restaurants.
beer and wine sales. So,
well, they're incorporating dining in the movie thing. Yeah, they can
As
sit
well
and
as
give you
alcohol.
dinner, and you can get alcohol and stuff.
Have movie and dine
The
in.
fancier, higher income cities are doing it, yeah.
I think our Concorian's gonna have a dining
Oh, is it?
area.
Dining area,
in our,
okay.
it's optional, you don't have to do it.
so you might want to, have another bullet there, with alcohol.
CUP with alcohol?
Yeah. Or in the notes, like we did before.
Does everyone concur with that?
Yes.
Okay, do we get that, Charles,
Mm-hmm.
Bob?
And,
Okay.
and then I think it's recording in sound studios, not studies.
Yep, that's correct.
There's in our one that we got in the book, there's a difference in the red under video electronic computer games arcade. In the book, that was crossed off, and now in the new copy with the green, it's amusement rides, kiddie rides, incidental to primary use. That's where that cut and paste came from.
Right.
So they're opposite. I wasn't sure why. It looks like in one, they got crossed off, and now in the other one, the last part of the sentence got crossed off.
So what is that saying? It's saying video electronic computer game arcade is allowed, it's permitted in the city center, but it's conditional on the Newport and the other. So we're not allowing it in Northgate and McCall. And then we're saying amusement kiddie rides, we don't want to consider those? Is that what we're saying by crossing that out?
That's what you had crossed off.
Incidental means if it's,
See, it's
it can be out, oh, I think we didn't want those little kiddie rides in front of the stores. Isn't that what that is, those little
That's what I
25,
remember,
50
yeah.
cent things? So we don't want that in Northgate, we don't want that on McCall. I don't see a problem with it being on McCall.
Do they still make those anymore? I haven't seen
I
one in
don't
a long
know.
time.
Yes, they do.
I say we allow it on McCall, permit it. Are we okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so we're.
Permitted or conditional use permit?
Just permitted.
Permitted,
Yeah, permit.
I don't know, yeah, okay. Mhm. So going down to lodging, we have hotel, we're permitting everywhere. Now motel, what we're saying basically is we don't want any motels, we want hotels. That's what we're saying by that, right? Okay, I'm
Yes.
okay with that. B&B, okay. Recreational vehicle parks and campgrounds, yeah, we don't want those in EDC. Okay, anything else on 11? Okay, anything on 12?
On drugstore,
Where? Oh, drugstore, okay.
drugstore. I'm assuming by drugstore you're including like Rite Aids and CVS and those?
Yes.
types? Okay. Then I would suggest the alcohol comment as well in the notes.
Do they have to get a
They have to get a-
CUP to sell for off-site consumption? If it's incidental? If it's incidental, we don't make them get it.
Well, they typically have a pretty good-sized, a couple
But-
aisles of
But
booze.
technically, a grocery store that sells a lot too, they don't get a CUP, right?
Correct.
So a drugstore, is it just as incidental to a drugstore as it is to a grocery store, or do we need to require a CUP?
That's a judgment call. Again, for the benefit of the new commissioners, my definition of incidental is where less than 10% of the floor area or 10% of the gross sales are for a particular activity. In this case, sale of alcohol. There may be some drugstores where it rises above that, and would, if you put in that note, then it would require the CUP. If it's incidental less than the 10%, then this staff, I don't know if that staff or your future staff would say that, that any sales would require the CUP.
I like any sales requiring no CUP.
I think the first section of the chart on alcohol covers that, because that applies to all businesses.
Let's go back and read that, where,
On the very first entry under alcohol beverage sales, you've got on-site consumption, off-site primary product, and off-site accessory product. I think you're looking at
permitted, yeah.
off-site accessory product being Rite Aid selling beer.
Yeah.
It's like 3 chilled cabinets and then a couple things of wine. But I think that's an overriding policy on all businesses. It doesn't matter whether they sell or not. If they do, they're bound by this. If they don't, then they're not.
So, what's the commission think? Do we believe that as it says here, we have it permitted? Is that define it, and thus we need to be consistent on this page, or do you want to, conditional use permit it? Commissioner Kerwin? Or
I think you can just put C alcohol section.
Yeah.
what do you mean? Oh, C alcohol section?
I
Commissioner,
like that 10% of floor area too, or gross sales.
Is that in the glossary?
Yes.
Good. So, yeah, I think in any of these sections, you say C alcohol section for anything that involves potential alcohol, like the movie theater or any of that stuff. I think that would just refer it, and
are you okay with that, Commissioner Folsom?
If you all are.
The name of the game in this is, are you willing to die on a hill, and you gotta make your,
Yeah, no.
make your case, and if you're not.
But I do like to, I guess I'm come from the perspective that I like to know where all the alcohol is being sold, so that when it's being looked at, I don't know what the process is for looking at a CUP here.
For census areas.
Exactly,
I
to know
like
how
having the
many establishments are selling alcohol within a given area. And if we're not requiring CUPs for them, then we don't necessarily know.
Doesn't the ABC license, they still have to be ABC licensed, right?
There's still requirements, and there may be findings that, and because you can have, for example, you can have two drugstores or a drugstore and a grocery store across the street from each other or adjacent to each other in the same census area, and there could be a consideration of a concentration, of that area there. But typically, again, they're incidental to the use. They don't create the impact that, let's say, a liquor store, for example, that strictly selling beer, wine, spirits, all of that, and that's their primary use, whereas CVS or Walgreens or your Stater Brothers, they're primarily selling other food items as well. People are going to buy it there, take it home, with them, and that's not the intent as well. So those typically haven't been a problem. And then also the Sheriff's Department looks at it as well when these come through as well. And, if there's an issue or concern in a particular area, they'll note that also.
So thank you. So it gets back to the drugstore. Do we want to see in that column? It should be consistent with the upper. So I say put a P there so it's consistent unless we want to put C's all across.
I like Cecil.
What's it?
I'd vote P.
Peas.
I am divided. Can anyone sell me on the CUP argument of, is it two owners to put a CUP on a incidental, or is it a good thing?
Or Bob,
I'm
staff.
I'm a less regulation guy than more regulation guy. It seems like piling on to me. It seems like the regulations are in place, and I don't think taking a second step for something where it's just
Maybe with me asking staff to come back to see what the other city is doing might help us
Yeah.
with this answer, and maybe this is one we could table with that.
Address it. So if we can make a note.
Well, but
Go
it's your city, and
Right.
you are deciding
Right.
what
But-
is
but-
appropriate in this city. So
That's
am
right.
am I confused as to whether or not you're changing the drugstore line to all Cs or all Ps?
That's what
Or
we're
going
just-
back to the first square in the table dealing with accessory products for retail outlets?
Well, what we're saying is it needs to be consistent between the two, because they're really talking about the same thing. And then what Commissioner Sobek's comment is, we want to see what Ontario's doing, not from the perspective of we have to do what they do, but from the perspective of if it's working, we may want to consider implementing their code or parts of it.
I think you're forgetting the prescription medication end of this thing. That's where the C comes from in that section.
Is that what's driving the C?
It's the drugstore use that's driving
Right.
the C, and whether or not you want a drugstore in an industrial, what we envision to be an industrial area.
Oh, the North Gate, that's right. That's why it's a C, because we don't really want a drugstore up in the North Gate.
Right.
But everywhere else, we're okay with it.
I'm fine with the way that it's laid out.
Yes, so am I.
I say leave it for now, and when we get the Ontario stuff, let's talk about it more. Okay? Okay, next item, feed stores. Those are vitally important. We have goats. Okay. It's not allowed, what? I do. We have goats
Chickens
and chickens
and chickens.
and chickens.
I am barbecue a goat.
No, we don't barbecue our goats. Don't you say that.
Oh, sorry.
We milk them. Okay. So, so what do we got? Feed stores are not going to be allowed in the city center. That's fine. Or McCall, that's fine. And they're conditional screened. Okay. Looks like discount variety stores we allowed, we permitted. Gifts. Okay. Any other changes? Nope. Page 13.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Where are we addressing mini storages? Would it be under services or somewhere else? I don't remember seeing
Mini storage?
mini storage.
Like, what's a mini storage?
Like, what is it, Stacks or what I think it's called? On Han, there's one. There's another one over on McCall.
Oh, yeah, storage, like.
Storage
the
facilities,
Storage
but they're
facilities,
mini
yeah.
storage.
We did not, let's go back, we already covered that. That's in,
I know we did, for outdoor type things, but I didn't see it addressed. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
stuff like that. Where is that? Didn't we already said we didn't want those in the EDC, I thought? Because we had
I'm-
this discussion.
Trying to remember where it's at, I don't recall it off the top of my head.
Someone in here.
No, we're in here, we're in the table.
Oh.
And I brought up the point that we can have them in other parts of the city, but this is the golden real estate of the city.
I would
and we
agree.
don't
I
want them
absolutely
in the
agree,
EDC.
but I just didn't see it in here
Okay.
prohibiting
We
it.
talked about
now.
vehicle storage, but we didn't talk about private storage.
Do we know where
Page
that,
9 is motor vehicle, trailer, or boat storage.
what is that technically called, Charles? Those type of storage, indoor storage facilities?
Oh, they're just referred to as mini storage.
Do we have a mini storage in here?
I'm still looking, I do not, storage, contractor storage yard, no retail sales. Storage, we could just put it in that, it's on page 16. We just put another line in there and include mini storage and however you wanted to address it.
Yeah, let's add a mini storage line there. Is the commission in agreement with Folsom and I as far as we don't want them in the
Yes.
EDC area?
How does that work when we already have them?
Their existing
Grandfather.
use, non-conforming?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if they were to say, want to pull a permit to add additional space or anything, they couldn't do it, right?
There are allowances for expansion of existing non-conforming that usually set a limit to that possible expansion and a review process such as a conditional use permit.
Okay, good call, Commissioner Folsom. Thank you for calling that, because that was definitely one of my things.
And I think we're covering something twice here. Small equipment rental, lawnmowers, cement mixers. Let's see. Isn't that addressed on page 9 somewhat as well, where it's just above the daycare facility? It has rental equipment, construction equipment.
Okay. See this?
I think we,
And then the same as the next ones on page 14, where you have large equipment rental trucks, and you've got, rental trucks on page 9 as well.
Well, it's a matter of size. From experience, I have had individuals reading tables that say that they're allowed to have automobiles and trucks and trailers and van equipment develop a 18-wheeler rental facility that was way above and beyond the intent behind their original conditional use permit. But because it wasn't well defined between the two, we had to deal with that. Here, the intention is that typical automobiles, small trucks, pickup trucks, trailers, small vans, equipment of that size is allowed by this definition. Then small equipment such as, you go in and you rent various, like it says, lawnmowers and small cement mixers and so forth is allowed in some. And then the third category where it's large equipment, i.e. the word large, it's meant to be that category by itself. I was breaking it up into the 3 different categories that I have experience with. You can combine them if you so desire. You can, however you choose to deal with it.
yeah, I like them split out, because it covers anyone who wants to try and wiggle in somewhere, we've covered it,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
And it's actually consistent when it says C star 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 C, that's consistent with the construction equipment side of it. Okay, anything else on that page?
I had one on page 13 for pawnbroker, pawn shop facilities. Are they permitted to sell guns?
There's a gun sales section, where is that? It's on
Well, under
page-
well, if you look a couple of lines down under sporting goods store, on the notes, it says gun ammunition sales, see gun ammunition store. I think if we put that in the notes for pawnbroker,
Yep.
Okay.
It would be advisable, because if I were staff and somebody came in and said, I'm opening up a pawn shop, and yeah, it wouldn't have been addressed under the chart the way it is now. So,
Okay, very good catch.
On the, I know that pawnbroker pawn shop, we have a C on the Newport. I'm aware of reading in this, now how does this work with a specific plan, like the, like,
The town center?
no, on the other side of the freeway, that we just approved the fitness center, the LA Fitness?
Oh, yeah, the
In-
Menifee Lakes Plaza?
Yeah, in the Menifee Lakes Plaza, it mentions in the specific plan that that was not an allowed use facility. So if we have a P here,
what you're dealing with is the hierarchies of zones. Your specific plan would be a higher
Higher?
designation
Okay.
than this, and
Okay.
so its allowances and its prohibitions would trump this
Okay.
chart.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
But we have a question marks all the way across on materials yard, need more info on page 13.
Right. Staff is still looking into that.
Okay, so that's something staff's looking into.
Right.
Okay, anything else?
Also, I also, like before, that also, actually, the pawnbroker,
Mhm.
I did have on the Newport corridor, that, again, that's a neighborhood-oriented commercial that supports residential communities. Would that be something that would be allowed, say, when they put in the Stater Brothers Shopping Center and they develop up there, and that's in the neighborhood? Would that be an appropriate use in a neighborhood? I don't know. I don't know. I've never been to I think I went once to a pawn shop to check it out. So I don't know. Just,
I think it would.
okay.
Anything else? Oh, the charitable donation facilities, Goodwill,
We're still investigating that. There was some questions about that, and I don't remember the details of it at the moment, but between where we were at in the document, we were going to finish that off, and then staff would do the research and so forth that's been identified here for that end document, not this where we're going back to the start and going through it. So that's why it's just marked, and staff hasn't completed all of its research yet.
okay. Okay, page,
Well, can I ask about warehouse club store? Why are we requiring a CUP for that?
The basic size. It was going to, the concept of being a large retail facility and the impacts that it could have upon the surrounding properties, considering some of those surrounding properties could be mixed residential uses or just other neighborhoods that are adjacent to the EDC corridor.
Okay. Other large retailers, though, we wouldn't be having a CUP on?
like, if Home Depot wants to go in on the junction, are we not going to require a CUP? But we would require it for Sam's Club?
Well, on like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines up on 13 warehouse club stores, their conditional use permits all the way across. So there is a consistency between the two.
Well, like a Lowe's, where would a Lowe's be here?
A Lowe's would be a warehouse club store.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that in the
It's more a
glossary?
warehouse. The very design of it inside is more a warehouse.
Okay, so that's defined then in the glossary that
I
way?
doubt if that one's defined that way in a
Because I
glossary.
wouldn't call that a warehouse slash club store. When you put warehouse slash club store, to me, that's Sam's Club and Costco.
Fine, I'm not arguing the point with you.
Well,
This-
no, okay, I'm just saying it needs to be defined, if that includes all large big box stores, basically,
So
or they're separate.
we want to put sorry for my yawning, do we want to put a square footage definition on that, or?
I like that term, big box, because that's so, all the way across the country, everybody knows what that is. And that would take care of your square foot.
So is it your intention then, if we're going to use that definition, big box, that a Lowe's, a
LA Fitness that we approved,
be
No,
require,
LA Fitness is different.
that's considered a big box fitness center?
not retail.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
what else is,
Right.
what else is big?
You got Lowe's.
Sports
Walmart?
Chalet, Target, all that, is
Best
it?
Buy.
Best Buy, is it our intention that you want to require a CUP on that?
I wouldn't, no.
What,
Unless it's part of a larger shopping center. But if it's a standalone, and those typically are part of a larger shopping center, but
Okay, well, there you go. I think that's good. You're talking about standalone warehouse/club store compared to the top of that column, which is indoor multi-tenant retail shopping center.
Yeah, which is at the top. And we have it all Ps for that. But I think he's looking more as, the warehouse club store is more like an anchor store. You know,
Well,
it's a
but-
big thing, then you've got all the little, like what we have over here at the town center.
A lot of different.
But since you bring that up, I mean, indoor multi-tenant retail shopping center, I'm assuming that's a mall, that's going to have consequences to the neighborhood even greater than a,
Walmart?
yeah.
what was the intention of the CUP on these, Charles?
On which one, sorry?
On
You talked
warehouse
about a lot
club
of
and
different-
wholesale stores and distributors?
Again, the intent was because it was going to be a large facility, a lot of traffic in and out, big trucks in and out, and the potential in the EDC area of having impacts upon mixed use, which may be and residential parts of mixed use that may be immediately adjacent to it or incorporated into it. And surrounding, if you look on the map, there's a lot of residential that's adjacent to the EDC corridors.
So the thing to think about here is, would a CUP be inhibitive to these, and to me, it is not going to be inhibitive to a Best Buy or a Lowe's, because they're such a large nature, a $10,000 to $20,000 CUP is not going to stop them from coming in. And yet we can mitigate the factors because we have a CUP on it. So is that your concern, that a CUP would inhibit someone from coming in?
I just want to know the logic on it. And then when you have an indoor multi-tenant retail shopping center that doesn't require a CUP, that seems inconsistent.
I think that the point is well taken, that there's something in between Costco and, pick another store, where Costco and Radio Shack. In between there, I think that Sports Chalet, I don't consider it to be a warehouse. I think it's a large retail. And so that section at the country marketplace, where you've got Best Buy, Sports Chalet, all those stores right in a row, at what point does it change from one to the other?
Yeah, so there probably should be a square footage associated with it.
And I think standalone, but then again, that mall that's up there at the Countryside Marketplace, where is that on our chart? Because that's not an indoor multi-tenant retail shopping center. It's an outdoor retail shopping center.
Which one?
Where we have Best Buy and Target and all of those stores.
Marketplace?
The Menifee Marketplace up off Hahn.
Um,
Because that's, it's not standalone.
Where
It's
does that-
it's
where
an
does that
outdoor.
fall? Where does that fall, Charles, on this chart, the Menifee Marketplace?
They wanted to build that now. Where on our chart would that fall?
Bob, did you have a comment?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, that may be, each of those uses, some of those uses may require a conditional use permit to be placed in there. Not just, you're not approving necessarily the entire center itself.
Each of the uses, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of those parcels that are in there, I believe, and I don't know for sure, but my guess would be, is that Lowe's owns their own parcel over there, for example. So a lot of them are coming in as part of that shopping center. There's the approval for the center itself. Some of the smaller store uses or the smaller retailers that are infill, like, are probably leasing from the master developer, the master in that center over there. But my guess is that the Lowe's is probably owned by them, they probably own their own
Typically.
parcel. Yeah, and that's usually what happens. So some of those uses that come in, they may have to get separate approval as they go through that process.
Correct, but the point, I think, the chart does not talk about a shopping center,
Yeah.
and it's simply an error in the chart. We need to put a line in dealing with shopping centers, that not only indoor, but a multi-tenant development.
Yeah, well, if you just put in under indoor multi-tenant retail shopping center, outdoor multi-tenant retail shopping center, I think that would
Take care of it.
take care
Or
of
just
it.
remove indoor and have it multi-tenant retail.
That's,
That's,
That, and then under warehouse club store, I think adding standalone somewhere in here, because Lowe's is separated from the rest of that plaza up there, it's not
Yeah.
connected. So that would technically be standalone. I think that would, you're not going to find like a Macy's by itself. It's just not going to happen.
yeah.
But those warehouse-type club stores do exist that way, so I think that would take care of both issues, I think.
So do we still, the big issue is, do we want to have that conditional use permit? Is that, are you okay with it if we call it standalone, Commissioner Folsom? Is
Yeah,
everyone-
but if it's because of because I wasn't sure if there was a CUP on this because of the alcohol sales, or because, Sam's Club and Costco always
Because
have.
of
But if it's the size and the impacts to the community.
traffic impacts, the noise and all that stuff.
and again, that's again, with the conditional use permit, yeah, it's not just, for the alcohol sales, it wouldn't be that, but as Charles said, it's the impacts from the traffic, the noise, the hours of operation, a lot of these things that these larger uses may have on adjacent uses, whereas a Lowe's at one location may be appropriate, but at another location, depending on the uses that are surrounding it or adjacent to it, that use may not be appropriate then, or the impacts from that may be too great on those adjacent uses, the lights, things like that as well. So that conditional use permit gives that ability for the city to regulate a little more, control a little bit as to where those uses are going. We're not saying they can't, but it gives that option then, if they're going into a certain area, that if there are those impacts, then it gives that,
control it,
gives that
mitigate.
kind of that level of review in there. I would say probably for a large retailer, a Lowe's, Costco, Home Depot, those types, the conditional use permit's not going to be something that's going to stop them from coming into a location.
Right, it's the market.
Okay, so are we going to add the word standalone? Did we want to add that, or is that not necessary?
I don't think it's necessary.
I'd just like to see it defined in the glossary.
And how do you want to define warehouse and wholesale?
I think there should be a square footage assigned to what a warehouse is. So if it's 100,000 or more, then it's a warehouse.
Up in Moreno Valley, where they have an entire warehouse district up there, and they vary from maybe 50,000 to 100,000. I don't know how we could put something on that, because we don't know what commodities they're going to be selling or distributing. And number two is the design format. I find that to be a little bit nitpicky.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
just
I can
saying,
see where
if
you're
we don't
going with that,
define
though.
it, Then
Yeah.
staff is going to have to define it when it comes in, and it may not be consistent, depending upon, between different staff.
Oh.
How would staff like to define this, since you have to deal with it?
We will come up with we'll do a little research and come up. We'll probably divide and get 2 lines so that it's clear, whether it's standalone, whether it's in a shopping center, whether it's over 50,000 square feet. Because there's a point, and it's about the 50,000 square feet, in my opinion, where no matter what it is that's happening inside there, and if you've got a building that's 100,000 square feet and people divide it up into 4, it's still a 100,000 square foot building, and there are impacts from the trucks, from the noise, from the volume of traffic that go in and out and so forth. So there should be some break point, and we'll just put it in the chart.
Okay, so I'll just.
Sounds
put
good.
TBD, okay. Anything else on 13? Nothing, we'll go with 14.
Pet grooming commercial, I don't think anything got put there, unless I'm reading that wrong.
What are you laughing at?
14, 2/3 down. right after massage parlor, and it says pet grooming commercial, and then there was nothing.
Well,
Well, that's because they're out of alignment.
Oh, are they, is that what it is?
so it's
Oh, okay.
conditional.
Is that just out of alignment?
And here's
Okay,
that
got it.
self-storage, public self-storage, that's your stacks and all that, and it's not permitted anywhere in the EDC,
Oh, okay, yeah, there it is.
okay?
Yeah, we need to fix that alignment.
Yeah, the whole chart, again, the little, the headers and so forth, it's a little bit cumbersome, and to do it when you know a lot of things are going to change through the process. So the clean version that you get at the end will have these things straightened out. And then when it goes to the council, it'll have to be straightened again, and then whatever changes they want have to be straightened again, so.
I have a question on massage parlor. When it says see chapter 9.72, massage parlors and massage therapy, are they two different? Are they described differently? Are they considered the same thing? Thinking like a chiropractor, sometimes they have massage therapy in a chiropractor's office. But looking at massage parlor, again, would you want that in the certain areas of the corridors that are supposed to be for residential, like?
Well, there'll be an entire chapter that you'll review that'll make those distinctions. And all this is doing a placeholder in this so that they'll look at that. And there is a distinctive difference between a massage parlor, which is a standalone facility that you go to, versus a massage therapist that may go to individual homes, may go to individual doctor offices and so forth, and there's a procedure and that's followed. In addition, there's state law that deals with massage parlors and massage therapists, and for a while they controlled, and we had very little control, but I believe we've now shifted it back where it's back to being local control, which is why this is in here.
Well, it's just we have it not allowed at all in the north gate, and then we have conditional use in 3 of the areas, and then it looks like it's not also allowed in the south gate.
That's because the north and the south are industrial, whereas the others have mixed uses.
But in a neighborhood,
You don't want it on McCall.
I just
Well,
don't.
like Massage Envy would be that. It's a high-end,
We have one of those in the Menifee Marketplace.
right.
If you don't want it in the McCall, I don't have any problem removing
No,
it.
I just was, sometimes massage parlors aren't like
Conducive to
to
residential.
a residential area.
Then
That's,
again, when you live over there where I live, where most of the people there have aging backs,
I'm not,
bad knees.
yeah, and that would be a massage therapy, I don't know.
No, it could be a massage parlor as well. And then if you were in a location where there's a high enough volume of individuals that need that, then a facility that specializes in it would be appropriate.
Okay, all right.
Anything else on 14?
Yeah, I have a question on definition. Is adjacent to that phrase defined anywhere? Is there a setback that if they're far enough off the freeway, it's not considered adjacent, or?
I
Because-
think we defined that as I remember we had this discussion up along the freeway, so many feet, or,
Used to be 660.
is that what it was?
Yeah, I remember.
Well, what this meant was next to,
Yeah.
adjacent.
Abutting?
Not abutting. Not where if you got 100 feet, 600 feet, that would not be considered adjacent. If you're talking a couple of feet, yeah, that's silly to say it's not adjacent. But yeah, it was meant, from what I remember of the discussion, of it being abutting one to the other. So you cannot have your development of a large equipment rental that has property, that property line is shared with the property line of the freeway.
Well, I don't want to debate the propriety of that. I'm just concerned that there's no definition of it. If there's a definition of it, then I'm satisfied with whatever the prior commissioners decided. But if there's no definition of that, I adjacent to, adjacent to what line, what property line are we talking about? Are we talking about the freeway edge? Are we talking about where where the easement comes through? Yeah, adjacent to what particular designation?
It would be the freeway right-of-way.
Okay. Yeah, and is that,
I doubt if it's defined anyplace.
if we can throw a definition in there, I'm fine. Whatever was considered to be the definition, add that to the glossary, just so that doesn't come up in a lawsuit later on where somebody claims that they're not adjacent when in fact they are. That would seem to be something easy to fix based on the notes of the prior commission.
Okay, anything else on 14? Let's go to 15.
Oh, you know what, I have a grammar thing on 14. Massage parlors and massage therapy has end quote, period. And if you look at, animal regulations, a couple of spaces down from there, there's end quote, no period. If there's a period, it should be inside the quote. Do we need a period? Because it's not a sentence. Those two things are the same grammatically. They should be the same on the page.
Whatever staff decides is grammatically correct, we'll make that consistent.
Thank you.
15. Congregate care. Okay, yeah, conditional.
Wait, they,
Go ahead.
are we on this, looking?
We're on uses
Marijuana
down to school.
cultivation?
Yeah, that's not allowed, but we're still defining the ordinance, so therefore
All right, 'cause it,
refer to chapter 9.7 for details. Personal cultivation, that's to be.
That's a good way to,
okay.
that's a good way to handle that.
Okay, anything else on 15? Having heard nothing, 16. We're gonna add under warehouses and storage, mini storage line there.
Well, as was pointed out, we already have the self-storage, which
Oh,
is
that's right,
the
we
mini
already
storage.
have the self-storage, okay.
So strike out many?
Yep.
Okay, where we have the live-work units, I would like to leave the subject to residential percentage limits. That was put there specifically because a live-work unit is partially a residential unit, and we had a big argument over how much housing is allowed in the EDC, because that's not the purpose of it. But certain councilmen and certain commissioners wanted to have it, so we limited it to 15%. And a live-work unit would be considered part of that 15%.
The reason I omitted it was because I didn't understand it.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue as to what.
What that was, okay.
What is this? So let's get rid of it because it conveyed no meaning to me.
Okay.
So,
A live-work unit is one of those where you've got the apartment above and the guy who owns the store below, he lives and
oh,
works
okay,
there.
like back east.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, okay.
I have a lot of experience in Pomona where the live-work units were the gallery was in the front and the living quarter was in the back. And we had considerable problem as to what portion, because in that city there's X percent can be work, X percent live. And it was not well defined in that code, so people were making apartments with 15 square feet of display area at the front, and the rest of the 1,000-square-foot suite was residential. And there was no separation there to do that. So in the code, there's a defining wall, there's percentages, so on and so forth. So, yes, it is very much what the chair was just saying. It's a residential unit, and it should count towards that total maximum number of residential units in the district, in the sub-area.
Is there a particular citation we can put in there? You'll refer to section as this just says residential percentage limits. If I'm looking to build and I look that up, I want to know where I find the residential percentage limits.
It's in the general plan, so it is defined, and it may even be defined
Should be on the definition of EDC, has a limitation under land use of.
Right.
Yeah,
percentage.
can we just throw a citation in there of where that information is? If it's referring to some other ordinance, then that ordinance should be cited along here so it can be found and referenced.
Well,
What percentage limit we're talking about, where that is. If there's multiple residential percentage limits citations, which one are we talking
Remember when we
about?
were doing the
Correct.
land use,
Each-
didn't we define 15% in land use on EDC?
correct.
Definition?
Each of the 5 subgroups have specific percentages. We can just refer back to the general plan.
Okay, Bob?
I was just going to say, under the economic development, I've got the general plan here, under the economic development corridor, down, it does say here, overall residential use shall not exceed 50% of the total EDC acreage.
And that's part of the general plan?
Yes, or be allowed on parcels or properties directly adjacent to the freeway, and then it tells the maximum density per
Okay.
unit. I
So
think that's
if
the
we could
section
say-
that Charles was referencing.
Then let's say,
We
make the
just
wording
cite to
say,
that.
subject to residential percentage limits as defined in the general plan.
Yeah.
Okay. How late does the commission want to go?
7:30?
I second the motion.
I'm ready to stop, but it's up to the commission.
Well,
Ready to stop, because I gotta go back to San Diego.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
are we okay then in adjourning for the evening?
I think so.
Did we,
Should we go to?
we should finish the page if we're
Okay.
starting.
Page 16?
Let's finish page 16 then.
Is this where the commission stopped last time?
No, we stopped on
We were
17.
halfway
page.
through 16.
Yeah, we stopped on 17.
So
I
we can
believe.
say
Sorry,
we've.
Bob. Bob was encouraging me to move on. Well, we took one step back, Bob.
Okay, if we get this done, by 8:30, I'll buy everyone a round of drinks. How's that?
That's an incentive.
Not for me.
Oh, come on, we'll get you one of those.
A round of
surgery-
refreshments. How's that?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so second dwelling units as allowed by state law, single-family residential tracts only. What
I was wondering, I had those marks.
What is the what is the state law on that? Isn't that more of our general plan?
Nope. No. State law gives criteria that mandates that you be allowed second residential units on single-family residential
Yeah, that's
properties
true.
to be considered nothing less than the single-family use permitted, and it establishes criteria as to the size relative to whether it's attached or detached and percentage of the main house. So those criteria are, you
They're set in
are
stone.
limited
One that
in what
says-
you, how you could change that.
But what's the one that says you can only have a galley sink and you can only not have certain things?
That's your multi-generational material that you made a decision
No,
on.
before that though, there's, like my neighbor, for example, had a garage and they turned it into a granny flat.
Mhm.
And when he did it, he could put in a bathroom, he could put in a refrigerator, but he was limited to the sink to what's called a galley sink. It's a
Right.
bar sink.
In an accessory structure, we have a
Accessory
definition of
code.
accessory structure in an accessory building that would make it so that you've got limited plumbing, no facilities that could be easily modified to make into a kitchen, limitations on where you could have material that would allow for like a hot plate and a small refrigerator and things of that sort. So yes, in our accessory building material, that's where that definition is.
Okay. So, single families are not as standalone, there we go, in EDC, I like that, okay. Contractor storage yard,
Strike the capital on sales.
the what?
Yeah, retail sales.
No retail,
So, see where it's capitalized right there?
right here? No retail,
Yeah.
oh, it's the S on sales, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. May not really, okay, so contractor storage yard, no retail sales. I have a problem with contractor storage yards in an EDC. It's a waste of space. In other words, what is that one called where they rent those lifts right next?
Summit Rental?
Summit Rentals.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we don't want there.
We've been trying to get them out of there for years.
Yeah. So, I think did we have this discussion already, Charles?
Yes, but you've gone back and forth on the issue.
I personally don't want any contractor storage yards in the EDC. It's a waste of space, there's very little tax revenue generated from them, and they're ugly. can anyone convince me of the benefit of having a contractor storage yard in an EDC?
Other than the industrial area, as is noted with the, for the north gate,
Would make sense.
Where's it?
the first row, you would have a conditional use permit, because larger equipment and things that you would put into a contractor storage yard would be more appropriately associated with an industrial, even a light industrial area.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why we left the conditional use in both the north gate and the south gate, and we took out, and we put in.
But it's C, yeah, it's C across the middle. So I say then, make it asterisk in McCall, City Center, and
Newport.
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 So let's
Change
make,
it back
change,
to the original prohibited.
yes.
Okay.
Sorry, schizophrenic there, I know.
I'm with you on that one, by the way.
Yeah.
Bus stops permitted. Truck stops are permitted, the north, conditional in the south, heliports, airports. Okay, I'm okay with everything else on 16. Any other changes? So we'll pick up on 17 then, and hopefully we'll buzz through, so now that we're all caught up. You added,
I had a comment. I would like to see us get through this table.
I think we can finish the table.
Yeah, I would like to see us finish this table because, I mean, we've been
okay,
beating up on this thing for months. So
okay,
if the rest of the commission doesn't mind, I would recommend we just go ahead and
Yeah, 'cause I-
at least get the table done.
There's only 2.5
I guess you
pages
saved your
left.
money.
Yeah, I think it's only like 2 pages. So it's
okay,
2
let's go.
pages?
Page-
Okay.
Page 17.
Thank you.
I see that rendering was added.
I think we did at the last
Yes.
meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I saw that because of the gentleman that came in with the rendering plan.
And that's only in the north gate.
Gate and South Gate. Well, he's North Gate, but everything else. the
Everything else prohibited for rendering. Yeah.
And we must also keep in mind that he's doing a modified version of rendering because he's taking products and reconfiguring them. He's not doing what, I had a small job in Kansas City where they had like big cattle pens out there and they
We're
just
not looking
took
for an
them.
abattoir
Yeah.
in Menifee.
Yeah, something like that. So I think what I'm trying to get to is that this rendering should be specified as a modified, because essentially what he's doing is just reprocessing
Yeah.
food waste, but he's not actually chopping up animals.
There was a rendering plant in Ontario, and we've unfortunately had to take some animals there. It's where you take them to put down horses and animals. And it's a necessary, it needs to be done, but he can't do it anymore because the smell got so bad that the companies around him said, this has to stop. So, and I've gone into the facility, and it smells like death, I gotta say. It really,
So do we want that?
but the rendering he's doing here is he's already got a modified product, and all he's doing is doing certain steps. So should we define this, Bob?
Yeah, it doesn't say, it just says rendering,
That's why I said we just put a qualifier.
and you can't make it for one guy.
Well, you can, actually. You can't define it, but you can put it there for a person, and we did. So,
Because I think he's the only game in town that does.
he's already operating. He just wants to expand. He takes these chunks, and now I think he takes it and cuts something off and then sends the rest away, whereas he could be cutting it all up and doing is basically what he's doing. So I think we should define this as, how do we say that? Mid-processing, no live animal or something? Or what do you do? How do you define that?
And staff do a little research on that.
Do a little research
you
and
don't-
find out what
you
we
don't
call
want-
what he does.
You don't want on-site slaughter.
No on-site slaughter. Okay, anything else on 17? Having heard nothing, 18?
Oh, a quick question on that on 17, it says light manufacturing of food. Number 4 is ice. Does that include ice machines?
Yes, commercial ice machines.
So like on
Freeze it, bag it, ship it out.
right, or even like on Cherry Hills in that plaza, there's a big ice kiosk out in the middle of it.
Well, I think this is production, this is manufacturing, that's just retail of a.
Okay.
Is that a little, one of those little
Right.
ice boxes they sell?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish we had a dry ice place here. You have to go all the way to Riverside for dry ice.
And
That's
one of the
hard.
biggest buildings in San Bernardino, you see it from the freeway, is an ice
They
manufacturer.
do sell it at Albertsons by me.
Oh, dry ice.
I think you may want to rethink that dry ice thing because you're talking about generating quite a bit of hazardous
I
waste
found out where
from
they
that.
get some. I just like to make homemade root beer, so.
Yeah,
I like to-
Albertsons on technically Marietta, I shouldn't be telling you that, but, okay, page 18.
We're getting chunky.
Have any comments here?
Oh, I didn't have any of that.
Page 19. So what we're saying is we don't want these in the city center and Newport Road.
I went-
So we're saying we do want them in north and south, and we want them on McCall. Oh, okay. Recycling only in the north, okay. Yes, your comment?
Solar power generating facilities, I'm assuming we're going to define that as well, that it's not that you're doing solar power for your own use, it's solar power for sale or something?
Correct. State law already prohibits us from limiting individual use, even if it's a larger piece of property, as long as that solar facility is used on site. We have no control other than an electrical permit. But there is at the top, the bottom of 16, top of 17 is under the utilities and service uses. Commercial solar fields and or wind farms are expressly prohibited. And so that's why this this facility is prohibited as well, for consistency.
Okay. Okay, and the alcohol got moved to the other section. There we are. So we'll pick up on page 20. Made 2 or 3 pages, Bob.
Well, I don't like to see some red there.
Okay, any other comments, questions, or anything else for the commission to discuss at this moment in regards to this? Okay, if not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
You don't need emotions, it's a workshop.
Everyone want to go home?
Yep.
Okay, we're going
You
home.
may keep your maps.